everybody. How you doing today? Good. Welcome to the River Road Unitarian Universalist Congregation. I'm Reverend Karen Rasmussen, your affiliate community minister. If this is your first time here today in person, we welcome you. We hope you'll stop by our welcome table right out there so we can get to know you and help you to get connected. For those of you watching live on YouTube, please feel free to join in the chat with our online host. If you're watching this at a later date, feel free to have questions. Please visit our website to learn how to connect with us. A couple of announcements before we go. There is an RE brunch today after the service in room 32. Our annual meeting will take place in the sanctuary on June 1st at about 11 a.m. It will be preceded by a slightly abbreviated 10 a.m. Sunday service, and there will be a brief break after the service for coffee and snacks. Voting for new Board of Trustees members, L&N Leadership and Nominations Committee members, and the Settled Minister Search Committee members will occur electronically prior to the beginning of the annual meeting. Instructions for how to vote and the link to the voting website will be sent to RRUUC members who are eligible to vote. Members who wish to vote using a paper ballot must request one from the RRUUC office prior to May 17th. A list of the candidates recommended by the L&N Committee for the board and the L&L Committee and their bios can be found on the annual meeting webpage. Can you guess we're getting ready for the annual meeting? Search committee members have not yet been finalized. In addition, any member of RRUUC may nominate themselves or another member to serve on the board or the L&N committee, provided that the member has confirmed with the nominee that the nominee is willing to serve. So don't just offer them up. The member's submission of the nomination must be received by the RRUUC office no later than May 17th. Details for all of our programs and upcoming events can be found on our website at rruuc.org.
We begin our time together by lighting the chalice, the chosen symbol of our faith, as we thank our religious education teachers today. Here is an excerpt from Rev. William Ellery Channing.
The great end in religious instruction is not to stamp our minds upon the young, but to stir up their own. In a world, the great end is to awake the soul, to excite and cherish a spiritual life.
So you're probably wondering, why am I here? What am I doing? Well, there we go. I thought it would be a good idea to hurt my hip. It seemed like a good idea at the time. And so that I don't have to answer this question 524 times, I'm going to say, yes, I'm fine. Yes, I will have this contraption or something like it for probably a while. Let's see, Ridley is fine. I have wonderful helpers who are helping to walk her and get me food. I don't need any food. And what else am I leaving out? So the plan is that I will be here on Sundays and work remotely the other days. Because even though I'm allowed to drive, might not be the best idea. So I'm going to invite you all now to rise in body or spirit as you're willing and able. And let's sing We Give Thanks.
Well, may the 4th be with you today. but we don't really need the force here because we have an amazing, talented, loyal, smart group of volunteer religious educators in our midst. So we are going to share a little bit about what each class has been doing this year, and then read the names of those teachers, and they can stand where they are. And please just hold your applause till the very end, if at all. I mean, you can always do the jazz hands. That works great. And maybe you'll get inspired to join this group of leaders in our children's faith formation next year. In our child dedication rite of passage, you as a congregation agree to help guide our children in becoming loving, compassionate human beings. Volunteering in RE is one way to fulfill that promise.
So the first class we're going to talk about is RE Play. Emphasis on play. This is the class for our youngest River Roaders, our preschoolers. It happens in room 20 downstairs, and it is an introduction for them to get used to coming to class, and it hopefully will help them feel comfortable coming to River Road and give them a sense of ritual. They do similar things every week. They light a chalice, they read a story, they ring a bell, and they have a snack, and they get to play and draw. And the teachers who are in this class have a great playful spirit among them, and are willing to get down on the floor with these little ones. And so the teachers we're recognizing today in RE Play are Mike Henry, Colleen Massaquoi, Suzanne Nagy, Pete Salinger, and Becky Troth. So from RE Play, we then go into elementary school, where we have 3 classes, kindergarten and first, second and third, and fourth and fifth. And in these classes, we are continuing to build community and make our children feel comfortable coming every week. And they learn about covenant. And we have a lot of emphasis on how we want to be in the world, how we want to be with one another in the classroom. And so that, of course, is directly related to our UU principles and values. And they do a lot of this through crafts and games. The older kids have been doing something called values voting this year, where they're delving into some serious subjects and determining how they feel about them. And we also, this year in kindergarten through 5th grade, are using the curriculum Peace of Mind, which we've talked about from up here before. This is the curriculum created by Linda Ryden. I see a lot of people giving recognition for Peace of Mind, which is wonderful. And so this is helping children in all grades learn about mindfulness, how to calm themselves, and then be able to look at a problem or a conflict a little more reasonably once they learn how to take some deep breaths. And then we do this in a variety of ways, and through actively doing mindfulness practices and through watching videos and some role play. And so our many teachers in elementary school that we're recognizing today are Sarah Bracken, Andrew Daly, Jana Dresden, Becky Apanchin, Barb Geiser, Kara Gassaba, Susan Greif, Kusi Hornberger, Melissa Kim, Adam Kuhn, Ginger Luke, Shanna Masulo, Dan Noland, Joe Prefontaine, Colleen Williams-Vyas, Stuart Weinstein, Walter Weiss, and Michael Zlight.
When the elementary kids get to middle school, we work to bring together all that they've learned using the Unitarian Universalist lens. This year, the curriculum is called Crossing Paths. It's very similar to one we used in previous years called Neighboring Faiths, that some of you might have even taught. The youth get a really good foundation in Unitarian Universalism in the first few months, and then they start learning about all the different religions that are in our area. And once they've learned a little bit, they go out and visit. So this year they've learned about Christianity, Judaism, Islam, Buddhism, and now they're starting Hinduism. They've also had a lot of fun running the haunted house that they do every year and planting seeds for our River Road Garden. Their teachers this year were Martin Dew, Madeline McElvin, Serena Piervincenzi, and Aaliyah Sneller. Now, when they get to 8th grade, and sometimes they wait till 9th grade, we have our signature Our Whole Lives Sexuality Education Program, commonly known as OWL. The class is led by facilitators who've had extra training. They spend an entire weekend on training and have updates all the time. We have a core of facilitators right now, but we're always on the lookout for more people who would be interested and willing. So if you are interested in providing that amazing education to our 8th and 9th graders, do let me know. OWL has a base in values and decision making. Yes, they learn a lot about factual information, which changes constantly, so the teachers are working hard to keep up. They also explore a lot about relationships and life in general. The facilitators this year are Kate Heston, Matthew Hammond, Susan Messina, and Lisa Orange. Our high school youth group is youth-led with adult advisors. You'll get to experience their youth-led worship service next week. That's what they're working on right now. They have a lot of discussions on topics from UU values to current events to issues they're having at school and more. They particularly enjoy when they've got a big project like the Murder Mystery Dinner Theater that they do for charity every year, and of course the youth service. This year's advisors are Doran Flowers, Steve Hartman, Jana Kirkman, and Megan Mullen.
Okay, so we would like to invite any children who would like to go grab our banner in the other room and bring it out and give a big thank you to all our teachers.
All right. Now, our kids have one more job, and the people who are the teachers need to help here by standing up where you are, and the children will come around with gifts for you. This year we have Love at the Center that was edited by Reverend Sophia Betancourt that we will give to each teacher. So if you are a teacher, please stand up. And the kids will bring you a present. Oh, perfect. Perfect. tape was fortuitous.
Thank you all so much. We couldn't do it without your help. And now we invite children and educators to go to your classrooms. Thank you.
See if this thing will do this without making too much noise. Are we good? Sit. How about that? Oh, friends, it is time again for joys and sorrows. In this week where, I don't know, it feels like the 43rd of November, where all the things just keep happening, right? Where our world stays in turmoil, where politics runs rampant, where there are fires and more plane crashes and floods and storms and all kinds of things that can just make you want to throw up your hands. And at the same time, even with all of that, there are bright spots. There are bright spots. There are bright spots this morning, like watching the youth figure out how to hang that sign. That is religious education at work. That was a group of young people coming together to share something that they think is a value of theirs, working together. When one wasn't tall enough, another came in and helped. That was the best example of community you will ever see, ever. And this week, when I was in the emergency room, our board chair showed up with ice cream. It doesn't get any better than that. And stayed with me, which was probably a good thing, because with the drugs, I'm not sure I was completely coherent, and I probably would have agreed to anything they told me. So even when times are hard, even when things seem difficult, there are still bright spots. There are those people who will help. There are those friends and community members who will support us. For the staff here that's done absolutely everything they could even imagine to help me get through this last week. My family, my friends, it's a lot. And we should be grateful for that. We need to hold both the joys and the sorrows, gently and tenderly, for they are what make up the circle of life. So I invite you now to call out what's on your heart or mind. Name your joys or sorrow. You can speak it aloud or hold it in your heart. Amanda. For those we have named for those whose names we do not know, and for those whose names are carefully guarded in our hearts. Let us now sit in silence for a moment, after which we will sing together, "There's a river flowing in my soul." Amen.
In support of our congregation and the community beyond, it is time for our morning offering. To learn more about why we give and the programs we support, or to give online, please visit our website at rruuc.org. If you'd like to give by phone, the text to give number is 73256. That number again is 73256. Type RRUUC and the amount that you would like to give. We are mindful of the fact that we draw water from wells that we did not dig and pick fruit from trees that we did not plant. This is as it should be, so long as we dig and plant for those who come after us. If this is your first time visiting, please feel free to let the plate pass you by. Your presence is gift enough indeed. The offering will now be given and very gratefully received. Thank you for sharing your time and your talents and your treasure with us.
So today we're talking about religious education. If you hadn't figured that out, that's the topic for today. And I invite you to reflect on something that's been central to our faith tradition since its earliest days, and that is the sacred practice of religious education. It's not merely about passing down facts or doctrines, but about the radical act of nurturing free and questioning minds in pursuit of truth and meaning. The story of religious education in our tradition begins long before the merger of Unitarianism and Universalism in 1961. In fact, it traces back to the very foundations of both movements. For Unitarians in the 18th and 19th centuries, religious education emerged as a deliberate counter-narrative to the prevailing Calvinist teachings about human depravity. While many Protestant churches taught that children were born in sin and required strict religious instruction to save their souls, early Unitarians, like William Ellery Channing, envisioned education as nurturing the divine spark already present in each child. And we heard from Channing in our chalice lighting this morning, from his seminal address, The Religious Education of Children, which he delivered in 1837, and proclaimed, "The great end in religious education is not to stamp our minds on the young, but to stir up their own. Not to make them see with our eyes, but to look inquiringly and steadily with their own." This revolutionary perspective placed the emphasis not on indoctrination, but on awakening children's innate capacity for spiritual learning. My meds make my mouth very dry, so I will be drinking a lot. Meanwhile, our Universalist forebears were equally committed to education through their own distinctive ways. So Universalist belief in universal salvation freed them from having to focus on teaching children how to escape damnation, right? They didn't have to learn how to avoid hell because nobody was damned. Instead, it focused on teaching them how to live ethical, purposeful lives grounded in God's universal love. This profound theological shift allowed Universalist religious education to focus on character development and social ethics rather than fear of divine punishment. And you see that a lot with the early Unitarian ministers, particularly the women ministers that we talked about, who believed that education was part and parcel of religious tradition, that they required social education, job training, all of these things. You have to know how to be. They also opened up settlement schools, as did the Universalists. Frequently, the Universalists were opening up schools for formerly enslaved people to learn how to read and write. All of this was important. How do you live a life of value and that's ethical and be in God's love? So both of these traditions shared something remarkable for their time. They encouraged questioning, exploration, and the use of reason in religious matters, even for children. This was truly countercultural in an era when most religious education consisted primarily of catechism and memorization. But to appreciate the distinctiveness of our approach to RE, it helps to consider how it compares with other faith traditions. In traditional Catholic education, for instance, there's historically been a strong emphasis on authoritative transmission of established church doctrine. The Catechism provides definitive answers to religious questions, and the purpose of education is largely to ensure proper understanding and acceptance of those teachings. Now, while modern Catholic education has evolved, and I would say has embraced more critical thinking, the authority of church teaching is still critical to that mode of thinking. Within Jewish traditions, religious education has centered on intensive study of sacred texts, particularly the Torah, the Talmud, and the commentaries. The process is often dialectical, encouraging questioning and interpretation, but only within established interpretive frameworks. The emphasis on textual literacy and interpretive tradition has helped preserve Jewish identity through centuries of diaspora. Islamic education traditions have similarly emphasized textual mastery, particularly of the Quran, often through memorization and recitation. This focus here tends to be on religious law and proper practice, though, like other traditions, contemporary Islamic education embraces broader educational goals while maintaining religious foundations. And then we'll think about Protestant Christian education. Where is it now? It's varied widely across denominations and still does, but typically emphasizes Bible study, personal faith development, and in many cases, accepting a particular understanding of salvation. So what about us? What distinguishes Unitarian Universalism in these ways? Unlike these other traditions, we do not begin with a fixed body of doctrine to transmit. Instead, we start with questions. We provide not answers, but methods, tools for the lifelong spiritual journey. We expose children and adults not just to our own traditions, but to the wisdom of many faiths. We teach not what to think, but how to think, critically, compassionately, and with reverence for the mystery that underlies existence. The modern era of UU religious education owes an immeasurable debt to Sophia Lyon-Fahs, whose revolutionary work in the mid-20th century transformed how we approach religious education. Fahs, who served as the RE director for the AUA, the American Unitarian Association, rejected the notion that religious education should be about transmitting a predetermined set of beliefs. She absolutely rejected that for our youth at the time. Instead, she advocated for experiential learning, for engaging with the natural world, and for introducing our children to the wisdom of many traditions. Her curriculum, New Beacon series, introduced generations of Unitarian children to world religions, science, and the wonder of discovery. Fahs famously wrote, quote, "It is a fallacy to suppose that by sharing our religious heritage with children, we bring them into the knowledge of eternal truth. Rather, we provide them with a means by which their lives are lived more meaningfully," end quote. This profound shift from seeing religious education as transmitting eternal truths to providing tools for meaningful living marks a distinctive feature of our approach. So when Unitarianism and Universalism merged in 1961, the combined tradition continued to evolve its educational philosophy. The revolutionary approach of Fahs was complemented by the work of educators like Essex Hemphill and Angus MacLean, who emphasized community building and learning through doing, like that. In the decades since, UU religious education has continued to evolve, embracing anti-racism, environmental justice, LGBTQ+ inclusion, and disability justice as essential components of our religious formation. We have developed programs like Our Whole Lives, which offers comprehensive, age-appropriate sexuality education grounded in values of respect, relationship, and responsibility, something that few other religious traditions have been willing to provide. Unlike many other religious education programs, ours explicitly acknowledges that children will ultimately form their own beliefs. We don't measure success by how many young people accept a particular creed, but by how many develop the capacity to seek truth with integrity, to live with compassion, and to work for justice. So let's think about how religious education fits with our 7 or 8 principles. People often quote the first principle, our affirmation of the inherent worth and dignity of every being, as the foundation for a faith where you can believe whatever you want. And that's not exactly true. There is more to Unitarian Universalism than you can believe whatever you want. As my colleague Paige Getty writes, I can believe whatever I want is almost as helpful as a description of our faith as Unitarianism is the religion that believes in nothing. So instead, I draw your attention to the 4th principle, to our commitment to a free and responsible search for truth and meaning as being the key. Reverend Getty continues, quote, "We mustn't wave the flag of our religious freedom and free search without committing ourselves to be responsible in the endeavor, without responsibly considering what makes truth true or what makes meaning meaningful. Without responsibility, a free search for truth and meaning is potentially narcissistic and destructive. Too often, we relinquish this responsibility in our insistence on maintaining our so-called freedom, in convincing ourselves that freedom implies an affirmation of rampant individualism, that whatever I have convinced myself is true in my mind and heart is justifiable and legitimate, regardless of my actions." I have been thinking a lot about what it means to be responsible. I've told this story here of finding Unitarian Universalism and finding that this was a faith that not only gave me the permission to engage in a free search for truth, it required me to do it responsibly. And I try my best every day to do that. But what does it mean to you to be engaged in a responsible truth? I think it means to continue to learn, to explore, and to question. It means to wrestle with new ideas and situations as we change and as the world around us changes. What worked in 1980 does not work in 2025. A lot of it doesn't. I share this final quote from Reverend Getty. "It is our responsibility to use our reason in the tradition of our Unitarian forebears to serve our faith. We do not rely solely on the truths revealed in a single sacred text, for we understand that such texts were and are composed by humans for a particular people in a particular time and a particular place. But we also don't dismiss any text without considering its value. Likewise, we must not rely solely on our own perspective. A responsible use of reason requires that we consider more than one perspective before coming to a conclusion. It calls us to acknowledge the legitimacy of perspectives that differ from our own. It compels us to remain open to new truth, new understanding, and new meaning." I could not agree more. And the way that I express this to people is to use our hymn, "Come, come, whoever you are." It doesn't say, "Come, come, whoever you are," unless you're Republican. It doesn't say, "Come, come, whoever you are," unless you're Christian, unless you're a man, unless you're wealthy, unless you can walk, unless you are straight. It says, "Come, come, whoever you are." That level of being open to other faiths and other experiences is critical to our religious formation as Unitarian Universalists. You don't have to agree with what another faith tradition posits. But you can't dismiss it without consideration. How would you feel if someone did that to you? That is the question. That's where the free and responsible search for truth comes in. We can't get so stuck in our own mindset that we're not able to see the rest of the world and move in and through it. Today, in a world fragmented by tribalism and competing claims to truth, our distinctive approach to religious education feels more vital than ever. More vital than ever. We're called to nurture young people who can think critically and compassionately, who are literate in multiple religious traditions, who can engage respectfully across difference, and who have the moral courage to stand for justice. Religious education in our tradition is not peripheral. It is central to who we are and how we create beloved community. Through religious education, we pass on not just information, but transformation. We transmit not just facts, but values. Values of inherent worth and dignity, of justice and compassion, and of the interconnected web of existence. When we teach our children and ourselves to question, to seek, and to wonder, to serve, we engage in a sacred practice that is as old as our faith tradition itself. We continue the radical work begun by our spiritual ancestors who dared to imagine religious education not as a means of narrowing minds, but of opening them to ever greater truth and love. As we move forward together in this sacred journey of learning and growth, may we remember always, always, that Unitarian Universalism holds religious education not simply as something we do, it is who we are. A community of seekers, learners, questioners, and servers. A people committed to growing and transforming souls and the world around them. And may it always be so. Amen. This feels weird that I'm still just sitting here. Would you like to sing? I would really love to jump up and join you and sing, but I don't think I can. But I will ask you to rise in body or spirit and sing This Little Light of Mine.
You are rocking it.
He's rocking it.
Our Unitarian Universalist principles and values call us to live our values out loud, not alone, and encourages us to be open-minded, open-hearted spiritual communities, helping people to lead lives of justice, love, learning, and hope. Here are some ways that you can live your values in the coming weeks. Are you interested in becoming a part of the exciting RE team next year? Please see Beth or Laura. Bidding starts today at 11 a.m. for our spring auction. There are dinners and tastings and vacation stays and tickets and lessons and hikes and services and all kinds of cool activities. Stop at the table in the fellowship hall to learn how to register and to see the catalog, or see the RRUUC website. There are some fixed-priced offerings for dinners that go very quickly. Otherwise, you have 2 great weeks to bid. The auction closes on May 18th. This is a great way to be in community with your fellow congregants. We close our time of worship together by extinguishing our chalice and reciting out loud these words together by Elizabeth Sella Jones. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, and the fire of communion. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
We have been blessed this morning to learn together, to share together, to sing and to love together in this wonderful community classroom. May we take the lessons we've discovered here out into the world and share them with those who are in need of spiritual aid. Go in peace and blessed be. Shrine.